If I were someone with a shoulder instability, these are some exercises that are meant to help stabilize the front of the shoulder. So the most common kind of shoulder dislocation or subluxation is when the upper arm bone comes forward out of the socket. And so all of these tissues in the front tend to get really angry, cranky, tight. Sometimes it feels like there's a lot of pressure, or the tendons just feel like they're kind of snapping around. And so these are meant to help strengthen some of the key big muscle movers here. So our deltoids, our bicep, all our chest pec muscles, and then the supporting rotator cuff are also going to get a benefit from this as well. So what you need is a bench that you can have inclined to about 45 degrees. And then you need some dumbbells. You're going to have to play around with what's a comfortable weight for you to start here. My suggestion is once you have warmed up with a light weight, like a 1 or 2 out of 10 difficulty, then try something that you can do about 8 reps in a row with minimal pain, or pain that stays the same and does not increase. So this is all about being able to fatigue the muscles without stressing them out more and making it more cranky. So the movement's going to look like this. So you're going to have your arms hanging with your palms facing the wall behind you. And then what you're going to do is allow yourself to do a bicep curl, turning the palms up. So from here I could hold a tray on my palm. Bicep curl, continue up. And then I'm going to finish by punching up to the ceiling. My palms are facing the wall behind me again. So we call this a supinating bicep curl with an overhead press. And the reason I'm not doing this sitting straight up is because I want my arm to be able to come behind my body. And that's going to force that shoulder to want to kind of pop forward, but we're not going to let it. So as I'm curling, I'm trying to keep like the flesh on the back of my armpit and my shoulder blade on the bench, and then curling, pressing. So you'll notice that I'm doing this movement a little bit slower. So I want to keep the muscles engaged during the full movement, really tiring them out. Just forcing them to keep that arm bone in that shoulder socket. So the slower you do the movement, the harder it's going to be, but the more you're going to benefit. So like I said, choose a weight that you can do 8 reps. If you can do more than that, choose a little bit of a heavier weight. So that's the first one. Next one, we're going to pancake on the bench. So we're going to be facing the bench surface. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a lateral raise. But again, because my torso is favored forward, I'm going to be working more kind of the back half of my deltoid muscles. So this is kind of like a lateral raise and a reverse fly combined. So we want to be getting all of these muscles on the top seam of our shoulder, and that's all the rotator cuff muscles that keep that arm bone sucked into the socket. They're really tiny muscles. So with this movement, we're only using a really light weight. You don't need a heavy weight, because with the length of your arm and the weight at the end of your arm, that's a lot of leverage. So you're probably only going to need, I've got a 2.5 pound here, something definitely below 10 pounds. It's going to depend on your fitness training and the length of your arm. So try these out. So I want to be actively kind of pushing my forehead into the bench here. And then I'm thinking about doing like a little tiny bird flap with my hands kept at shoulder height. Not below, not above, right in between. So this is what it'll look like. My chest is on the bench. My forehead is on the bench. I am raising to shoulder height, and then I'm doing really, really tiny bird flaps. You can bring the hands back to the pinky side of your hand. You're going to feel it in between your shoulder blades a little bit here. You can also bring it forwards to the thumb side of your hand, and you're going to feel it more in your deltoid bicep. But that's the general movement. You should feel like you're tiring out everywhere around the top of your shoulder. So with that movement, go until you're tired. Make sure that you're going forwards, backwards, and then just keeping the movement as small as you can. Not going too high, not going too low. We don't want to go too high so that we're cranking our neck, and we don't want to go too low because we won't be getting good leverage on those muscles. So that's the second movement. Third movement, we're going to go over to the wall. So the next movement, you're going to be planking on a wall. You need a yoga mat or yoga block and a light band. If you have a medium band, you want something lighter, or just make your medium band a really long loop. So I'm going to take the yoga block and I'm placing it under my injured shoulder. So I'm going to be planking so that the yoga block is taking the weight from this shoulder. And then what I want you to do is just lift the foot on the same side as your hand. And you should feel like that's bringing lots of weight into your hand. So that's what you want, is that feeling of the arm bone being pushed into the socket. So I'm going to loop this band around that hand. Silly girl. And then I'm going to be moving my other hand with the band. I find it comfy to have my palm kind of on the corner so I can let my fingers and thumbs move. And then what I'm going to be doing is moving my opposite arm, and I'm just doing kind of a 50% to 100% reverse fly, and I'm going shoulder height, hip height, ear height. And I'm just going back and forth like that. But still, the main focus is loading that shoulder socket. Just like that. We're going to add another challenge to this. So what I want you to do is bring that band to that 50% tension in your unloaded hand. And what you're going to do is, using your injured shoulder, you're going to, I call it opening the book. So try to open the angle between the inside of your arm and your chest. So my whole body is staying frozen, except my shoulder joint is turning my body. So you're going to feel everything light up on the back of your shoulder there. So my band holding arm is not moving, it's frozen still. It's my yoga block shoulder that is doing the movement. So by the end of that, you should feel like you're really tired in those deep shoulder muscles. So that one you're going to do until you're fatigued. Switch sides and do the same thing, and then you're going to rest a good 2 or 3 minutes before you do it again. So those are the 3 movements. What you're going to do is do at least 3 sets. If you have time to do 4, that's great. Good work.